The reason you're not writing 1,000 words a day is because you're trying to write 1,000 words a day. Many of us have a word count goal that we love to hit every day. And if it's not 1,000 words for you, just sub in whatever word count it is that makes you do that happy dance around the living room. I have done that happy dance, and I have also felt that sinking feeling when your word count is just barely creeping up like molasses in winter. Let's talk about why you are not hitting that word count goal consistently and how to fix it. Welcome to the Writing Woods. Take a deep breath. There is no stress here, no pressure, no distractions. We're all just hanging out in the woods, listening to the birds sing, and becoming better writers together. So let's talk about this spiral that can happen when you don't hit your word count goal. It feels so good when you hit it, right? It feels so good when you see that if you're working in Scrivener, you have your target word count bar and it turns green and you go, yes, I'm successful. I nailed it. But when you don't hit it, it feels so bad. You see that bar just sitting halfway or maybe worse than that, and you feel like a complete and utter failure. And then the next day, you sit down to write and you feel like you have to write 1,500 words because you didn't hit the goal yesterday. So now you need to make up for it. And then the next day you need to write 2,000 words. And all of a sudden you need to write 10,000 words in a day and you're terrible and you're never going to finish anything. And why are you even writing? You're never going to write enough and it gets harder and harder to try. It is this cycle of motivation, failure, guilt, avoidance, pressure, burnout. If this sounds familiar, leave a comment. I will be down there commiserating in the comments. And this is not confined to writing either. When I was playing softball, the second I started thinking about my batting average, I was done. But if I focused on having good at bats, good form, good contact, then my batting average would follow. The real goal with writing is consistency. And that's what we're aiming for when we set these daily word count targets. You know, we do the math. We say, if I write 1,000 words a day and I'm shooting for 80,000 words, then I'll be done in 80 days. But then we miss one day, we wind up on this emotional roller coaster that we just talked about, and consistency goes to pot. We wind up training our brains to associate writing with hitting that number instead of getting lost in the story. And we start writing from this place of fear and pressure instead of joy, because we're doing something we love, right? Like, as soon as we're no longer having fun and enjoying what we're doing with writing, we're on a bad road. So how do we prevent all this from happening? Because output is important. I'm not going to say that it's not. We have goals as writers, and if we want to achieve them, we have to actually write and produce. The fix, in my opinion, is to remove word count from the equation. The irony is that the goal of writing 1,000 words a day is actually what is stopping you from accomplishing that goal. Instead of having a results-focused goal, which with writers is typically a daily word count target, we're going to pick an effort-focused goal. We're going to set a goal for ourselves that does not include word count. Here are some examples. Set a writing schedule. How often you write. And I have a whole video about that, because setting a goal to write every day is an option if that works for you. I don't think that should be the only option, and I think your writing schedule should be specific to your needs and your rhythms as a person and according to your current lifestyle. But setting yourself a schedule that I am going to sit down to write on these days or every day. And instead of focusing on how much you write, just focusing on the act of writing. Write at a certain time of day. Working on developing that habit of, if you're a morning person like me, maybe you write at 6:30 a.m. every day, or on certain days, according to your personal writing schedule, you're sitting down in this spot and writing. Doing something related to your work. If you're a night owl, maybe you're doing it at 10 p.m. That sounds absolutely terrible to me, but if it works for you, that's what you should do. Write before doing certain other things. I really like this one because personally, I'm pretty bad for, well, I'm just going to check my emails real quick, or I'm going to do this one thing for the business, or I'm going to start editing a manuscript and just for an hour or so, and then I'll get back to writing. And without fail, I get into the other thing that I'm doing and I don't get back to writing. Or if I do, my head's not really in it. So I personally really like the goal of just write first. Have my writing session before I start working on client manuscripts. Another good one is to write for a certain amount of time. You can set a timer. Of course, it doesn't have to be long. This doesn't have to be right for an hour. Honestly, there have been times when I've been having a tough time getting into my work, and I have set the goal for myself that I am going to write for the entire time that my tea is steeping. That's not long. I mean, I like my tea strong, but still, that's not a long time. Almost every time I've done that, I wind up writing for longer because it's getting past that resistance of getting into my story. And once I do that, once I feel that connection to the story and the characters, I'm able to keep going. Another good one is to play a song and write through the entire song and just focus on writing the entire time. If you're trying to write through a 3-minute song, just stay focused for those 3 minutes and then check in and see where you are. And a lot of the time you just keep going. Another good effort focused goal is to go to a specific writing place each day. Where do you write? Where do you feel comfortable? Is it in the woods? Is it at your desk? Is it in a coffee shop? And I say each day, but I really mean according to your writing schedule. It doesn't have to be daily. Another effort-focused goal that can work wonders when you're in a rut is to open the document. Look at it. Just make yourself connect with it a little bit. You could also set the goal of just engaging with your story in some way. It doesn't even have to be writing. It can be journaling about it or about how you feel about it, rereading chapters, going for a thinking walk, an ideal walk where you're just engaging with that story, with that world. Maybe your effort-focused goal could be checking in with your writing group every day, introducing that accountability and that motivation of seeing what others are doing, encouraging another writer. That's a great goal to have. You could set the specific goal of journaling about your writing session. I really like this one because if you didn't have a writing session, then journal about why. And you've hit that effort-focused goal. You have engaged with the process and you've done something to really work on building self-awareness, which I think is just critical to this whole process. So a lot of those are very simple. You could pick multiple. You're not limited to one of those goals. And a lot of them are really good for when you're in a rut, but honestly, you don't have to be struggling to benefit from those. Some of it is just building habits, setting goals that are achievable, and starting to associate your writing process with success, with positivity. And after you pick a goal or goals, I would suggest tracking them. Some of them, like journaling, have tracking built in, but keep track of that effort-focused goal, the same as you keep track of your word count. Depending on your level of spreadsheet obsession, you could even track your word count output along with that effort-focused goal to see how they correlate. Because in my experience, they generally do. If you're doing well with these simple effort-focused goals, your output is going to increase. And there is nothing wrong with tracking your word count output. Just don't make it your focus. Just don't see your writing sessions as a failure if you don't hit that word count goal. And I know that might take some practice, and that's okay. Don't be hard on yourself about that either. But I can tell you, when I stopped focusing on my word count and having that as my primary goal, my weekly output goes up. I might not write as much every single day, but I do write more over time because I wasn't starting from behind every time I sat down to write, and I wasn't judging myself every time I sat down to write, feeling that shame of not hitting your word count goal yesterday, wondering whether you're going to hit it today, knowing that if you don't hit it today, then you're going to have double to do tomorrow. All that just goes away, and you're just writing, and you get to approach your story without feeling like a failure. It's really about trusting ourselves. We don't need to be looking over our own shoulders, measuring our productivity every second. We love writing. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't love telling stories. Trust yourself to do the thing that you love, and it's gonna work out. I know we went through these kind of quick. I'll list out the alternative effort-focused goals that I mentioned in the description. If you have tried any of them, or if you do try any of them, I'd love to hear how it went for you. And if you have any other ideas, please leave them in the comments. I'm always looking for new things to try.